Did you see my message, which I posted on the forum, and also I put it in WhatsApp about the way I prefer to run these webinars? Always open to suggestions, but it seems to me to be a bit pointless to go back through the material again. So what I'd like to do is just run through a PowerPoint which has most of the key points from the 2 weeks, which I hope will then prompt you to come up with questions or queries or difficulties of your own. So if that suits you, um, would that be okay if we did it that way?
Yeah, it's perfect for me.
Yep, good for me too.
Good. Okay. Um, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Good.
Yep, yeah, all good.
Right. What I will do, let me see if I can do this. Right. It should be. Oh, hang on a minute. I can never do this. Try and get the PowerPoint up. Yeah. Can you actually see anything? Because according to my end, you're supposed to be able to see this.
It's coming up as hidden on mine.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't see anything yet.
Good start. Why is it not showing then? Oh God. Tell you what. Let's get rid of it and start again. Right, I'll just get it again. Let's see if it'll load. Right, can you see that?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Good. Okay. I just wanted to go through some of the sort of more basic stuff first, and we'll take a couple of minutes going through that. First of all, have you read the module guide, especially page 4 onwards?
Yeah, I've had a look at it.
Good, because you'll see from that part of the guide that the tasks that you're submitting to me on a weekly basis follow very closely what they're suggesting you should do for the assignment. You've probably already made that connection. So
Yeah.
if you're doing the submissions and you're keeping them to roughly a word count of about 500, then it will make your life very easy to put the assignment together. So yeah, that was the point I want to make on that. Referencing, I don't know why, because academia isn't really my background, but they're very hot on referencing. So you should have the referencing guide, how to reference, which I attached to a post on the 4th of February. So make sure you know that as well, because marks do get lost regularly for not referencing accurately, and they're easy marks to retain or to get. So please make sure you can reference. That's the most important thing, I think. Okay, we got coming. Let's go to the next page. The other thing I just wanted to go through, and I know I've banged on about it for the last 2 or 3 weeks, is the critical thinking model and reflective writing. You know, as I said in one of my posts or a couple of my posts, I do expect you to, and I'm sure you do know the content. You go through the content, so the theory and the material should be no problem. Where people do fall down is this critical thinking element, and they fall into the trap of doing a lot of descriptive writing. So please, when you're doing your submissions, and especially when you come to do your assignment, make sure that you follow on with analysis and evaluation. So as you can see there, the description is usually the easy bit. The analysis of how it fits in with your professional practice is the difficult bit. So why, how, what, if, and then the evaluation. So what next? And then there's another bit on top of that, which is the extension. You know, extending it to something else. So to demonstrate that you've done other reading around the subject and not just referencing the material that's in the weekly sessions. So that's really important as well. And I've just gone on, I think, to just summarise what I think reflective writing is. So If you're like me and have an engineering background, you're very used to academic writing, which, if you use the word I in it, it is really it's almost a criminal offence. But when you're doing reflective writing in this course, you combine the academic and the personal, so you use I quite a lot. But you've still got to have a degree of objectivity, so the whole stuff does sound academic, but you will have this sort of personal element to it. And as I've just said, don't fall into the trap of just keeping it to descriptive writing. Please do the analysis and the evaluation. So you're writing more or less, when you're doing your submissions and the other stuff in the posting in the tutor forum, if you do that, write as you speak, except when you get to the assessment, and it's got to be a little more academic when you do the assessment. Okay? So I'll make these slides available so you can have a look at it. It's all fairly normal stuff. So is that okay? That's just a sort of office background, if you like. So is that okay with all that? I'm sure you're both on top of it.
Yeah, no worries.
How are you?
Hi, Jonathan. Sorry to join late. It's Caroline Hewlett here.
Yeah, I can see you there, Caroline. I'll post. I mean, I'm recording it anyway, but it's just a PowerPoint, very quick PowerPoint presentation.
Great.
I'll post it anyway. I've just gone through some sort of housekeeping stuff around the module guide, the how to reference, and critically, really, excuse the pun, critical thinking and reflective writing. Okay, so. I just wanted to make sure everybody was okay with that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, in the next 25 minutes or even less if we can do it, whiz through some slides which I've drawn from the weeks 2 and 3, which I hope will allow the three of you to have a discussion, to raise queries, questions, anything that you feel you need to raise. And I would like the three of you to try and sort it out or make comments. And of course, I will sort of get stuck in there if I need to. Okay, is that all right?
Yeah, fine by me. Sorry, who else is on the call?
Ryan and Nick.
Hi, Ryan. Hi, Nick.
Hiya.
All right. Oh, one more thing, formative submission. Are you all familiar with that? I did write a post about it. This is before the summative submission, and gives you the opportunity not only to get your stuff done before the deadline of the summative submission, but also to put it to me so that I can have a look through the assignment before the final date. So if you can get it done before the 16th of April at nearly midnight, that would be brilliant. And I will do my best to give you some feedback on it. I won't give you an actual mark. I'll tell you, whether it's going to be, where it's going to fit in the sort of overall scheme of things. So that is quite an important deadline. Okay. So the first two sessions were about leading people. Basically, first know yourself, then influence others with integrity, which is the most important point. And I take the with integrity to mean it's a bit like brand, isn't it? And if you remember back to, I can't remember the name of the jeweler that said his stuff was crap. That there was lack of integrity there. So I think integrity is the most important part of that. So the leadership process then. What did you make of that? Any comments on that? This is Dunham and Pearce's model, obviously.
To me, it was just basically highlighting how every element of that process, you look at the context follower, the leader, how they shape the outcomes, and how leadership is just more than, say, the leader. There's more elements that can influence the outcome of leadership. Yeah.
Okay, and what about the elements of leadership that came out of it? Starting with providing regular feedback. Are you okay with all that stuff?
There's also an element that focused on relationship development as well, and obviously the leadership process being the centre of that diagram. How you manage your relationships will affect all the outside elements.
Yeah. Okay. Just let me go back to my Skype. I'm on the wrong page at the moment. Bear with me a second. Okay. And then we talk. I have to admit, I still have, and I don't think anybody really knows or has come up with a decent definition of leadership. I don't know what you guys think, but I picked out three that I quite like. There are weaknesses in all of them, and if you've read the literature, you'll know what the weaknesses are. But I really wanted to get your sort of take on what you think leadership is, and whether any of these definitions I put up here actually kind of fit what you think. Any comments on that? I mean, let's take the this is the Yuckle one. I don't know how to pronounce it. But there's a definition of leadership, reflective something that involves a social influence. Well, what does social influence mean? You know, there are weaknesses in all these definitions. Have you guys come up with anything that, you know, or found anything in any of the extended literature that you feel is a good definition of leadership?
Well, obviously leadership is so diverse, but I think the bottom one there, where it talks about leadership isn't a person or a position, is probably most relevant to me.
Yeah,
Field of work.
I think
You're
right there,
talking
Ryan.
about,
And interestingly for me, that's the earliest one of the three as well. Because Julia came up with that in 1998. What, from a military perspective, and a lot of the literature is actually written by, I suppose not surprisingly, written by military people.
yeah.
How did the sort of civilian take on leadership fit with what the military side of things looks like? Because I think that might be quite interesting for Caroline and Nick to get your take on that.
Yeah, definitely. So, particularly like through Cromwell, they focus heavily on John Adair, and they're like, you know, task team individual.
Yeah,
That model, that famous model that he produced.
yeah,
Also, it's very like military orientated with the leadership that we look at. So we look at Carl van Clarchfitz,
yeah.
who's a key military leader, but we don't really. There's no real focus on, like, I don't know how to word it really, like the civilian leadership. So
Okay.
looking at like Daniel Goleman, for example, and emotional intelligence,
Yeah,
that isn't really touched on.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
That's interesting, isn't it? I mean, because I think Wigglesworth, which we'll get onto in a minute, that Wigglesworth thing where she's got the four intelligences, I think is really important. And there is I can see why it wouldn't be used in the military context extensively, but there is I mean, I'm sure it's the same in the military. In sort of civilian commercial context, there is the JFDI leadership, where, you know, well, F stands for one of the words which we won't say, but just do it. You know, and that, when you've got that sort of leadership where you've just got to get something done, which I guess is quite often happens in the military context, you know, I guess the spiritual intelligence, you haven't really got time for it, and I would think that probably applies in the military context quite often, doesn't it?
yeah,
Oh, Ryan's left. All right, we'll crack on anyway. Right, got two of those. Don't want that one. Okay, and the next point I wanted to bring out, or I wanted to get you to comment on, was the differences between leadership and management. What are your thoughts on that as well? Did you have any queries or comments on the differences? I mean, I think this table is as good as any.
Yes, I'm sorry, just trying to find my notes, Jonathan.
Okay.
It's been so much sort of I've taken in over the last few weeks.
Yeah.
It's trying to.
I mean, my personal take on it is, yeah, that's fine. It looks great. It's what it is. But I think that, you know, I've worked in a lot of places, and there is definitely a functional distinction between leadership and management. But as an individual, there are very few leaders that I have come across that have the luxury of just leading. I think, you know, there is always an element of management in what they do.
I agree with that, Jonathan.
Yeah.
From my experience, I agree with that. Yeah.
So I think it's important that, you know, if you're a leader, you don't step into that sort of middle column there under leadership and say, right, I'm not going to do any of the management stuff on the right hand side anymore, because it just doesn't work like that. Anyway, it is what it is. Let's move on very quickly. So I thought this was a good question. I don't know where it was. It was in one of the tasks, I think, in one of the sessions. So, why do you think so much emphasis is placed on leadership rather than good management or followership behaviours? Have you got any comments on that? They do say why, and I disagree with it. So I just wanted to get your take on that as well.
Is it because leadership they have more communication at a lower level?
What, managers or leaders?
Leaders.
Yeah, I mean, there is no right or wrong answer. I mean, I think that's as good as thing as any. I mean, I thought the worst answer I saw was actually in the material, where it says it's supply and demand. There's probably an element of that, and I didn't really understand what they're talking about. But I think we go back to this table. Leadership, as far as I'm concerned, leadership is in demand for the very reason if you're looking to move an organisation forward, you don't want stability. You want somebody that's going to look at change. You want somebody that's going to break rules. You want somebody that's going to create new things, create a new direction. So I think leaders are in demand. I mean, people have those qualities. Hopefully, you'll be some of them. Are in short supply. So I guess there is a supply and demand element to it. But the reason there's a supply and demand element in it is because it's very difficult. It's relatively easy to manage because you're working to a process and a system. It's not so easy to be a leader, I think, because you are ahead of the system. You are adapting the systems and processes. So, in my view, that's why there is an emphasis placed on leadership rather than managership or followership. I think followership is very important, and we'll get onto that as week 3. When we go to week 3, but I mean, I don't know whether you think I'm on the right track myself there with why leadership is in demand. What are your thoughts?
Well, for me, I mean, I've just stepped into a management role, Jonathan. So this module couldn't have come at a better time for me.
Right.
And I've got both management and leadership experience.
Yeah.
So I suppose it's quite a good contrast. But yeah, I mean, in some of the statements on the left-hand side under leadership, I agree with.
Yeah.
And some of the statements on the right-hand side underneath management, I'm sort of testing myself at the moment. So, I can't really comment any more than that because I'm putting it into practice at the moment, but it's all good stuff. Yeah.
I mean, I had a management role, a middle management role with Serco, but, there was a great deal of element of, looking at the other side of it, there's a great deal of leadership involved there because I had to apply some of the those things under leadership to the team I led. So, I think we try and make a distinction, don't we, between leadership and management the whole time. I think it's very difficult to do that. I think in an individual role, I think it's easy to say what the different tasks are, but to actually say that somebody's a leader or a manager is probably erroneous, I think. Anyway.
I like the sort of the motivating and inspiring aspect of it.
Yeah.
That comes from leadership. And maybe you don't get so much in a sort of, middle management type role because you are very much sort of task orientated, and maybe that side of the job doesn't really seem to come out that often. Maybe it should.
I think you're right. I guess you need to do that in a management role, middle management role with your team, but that's not quite the same, is it, as being at the head of an organisation and setting that direction. I think that. So I think you're right there. Right, what we got next? Oh yes, followership, week 3. This was interesting. I like followership. I think it's really important. I can't remember who I sent the video to, but we'll have a look at it if I can make it work. There's no point in being a leader if you've got nobody to lead. So you really do need followers. And I like Kelly's definition of about 25 years ago, 96, about enthusiasm, intelligent, and self-reliant participation without star billing in pursuit of an organisational goal. Well, that's all very well, but if you're a poor leader, that isn't going to happen. So I think the task of the leader is to make sure, or to motivate and encourage your followers to be enthusiastic, intelligent, and self-reliant, and that isn't always easy. But I do like. Have you seen the? Oh yeah, let's just have a look at this. Why should anyone want to be led with you? Again, a very good question. I won't read through all that because you'll have done it anyway. But like you said, Nick, vision, energy, authority, strategic direction, not something you necessarily need in a middle management role, but definitely something you'll need when you're leading an organisation. But I do like these new qualities. I mean, I've had discussions about this in the past. Selectively show their weaknesses. What are your thoughts on that? I wish Ryan was here, because I'm not sure. I bet he's got to have something to say about weaknesses in a military context.
I quite like that. I like people who can be a bit humble, and they're not sort of in this sort of ivory tower, so to speak,
Yeah.
and they do show some sort of vulnerability, and everyone's human at the end of the day, and everyone makes mistakes and has weaknesses. So
Yeah.
I think that certainly helps to sort of bond people, and I like that
I
aspect.
think that would come down also to confidence and self-confidence in the role. I think I mean I'm sure you've had the same. I've had leaders who haven't had the confidence in their leadership ability, which means they haven't had the confidence to show weakness. And I totally agree with you. It does make you want to empathise with them if they selectively show their weaknesses.
But I read something about as well about how showing a weakness can actually be a strength as well. I just can't find my notes.
I remember reading that as well, Nick. So if you're sharing your weakness, you gain more trust.
Yeah. And certainly that's my experience when I've had the confidence to show weakness. I do feel that people have been more willing to be led by me, if that's the right kind of phrase to use. So I think that's a very strong quality, but a difficult one to A, do, and B, do at the right time, I think. The others I agree with as well, but it was just the weaknesses one I particularly wanted your take on.
Yes, I've got. Sorry, just to butt in there, Jonathan.
Yeah.
I'm doing a training presentation next week in Cambridge for 4 days, and I'm absolutely fine with public speaking and doing presentations. This is a new set of people for me, which is exciting.
Yeah.
But my weakness probably would be the engineering background to the product. So I'll share that with the group and see what the outcome is.
Yeah. No, I think that's right. I mean, immediately you've probably got them on your side by revealing that. I can see how that would work, definitely. This is one of my favourite videos. Have you already seen this? Because I won't bother playing it if you have.
No, I haven't.
I haven't either, no.
It's only very short, but I think it really demonstrates the importance of followership. So I'll try and make it work. I mean, we'll give it a go. Tell me.
Just to say, Ryan is trying to get back in,
right.
Jonathan.
No, we'll leave it. I'll leave it a second, see if he comes back.
Yeah, I think he's sort of WhatsApped on the group and said it's a thumbs down, so he can't rejoin. So I think you might as well continue.
All right.
If you've learned a lot
Can you
about
hear it?
leadership and making a movement,
Yes.
then let's watch a movement happen, start to finish, in under 3 minutes, and dissect some lessons. First, of course, a leader needs the guts to stand alone and look ridiculous. But what he's doing is so simple, it's almost instructional. This is key.
I'll just pause it a second. The four new qualities that we just spoke about, weaknesses, etc. I think you'll see them demonstrated, not overtly, but you'll be able to identify them in this guy. So we'll just carry on.
You must be easy to follow. Now here comes the first follower with a crucial role. He publicly shows everyone else how to follow. Notice how the leader embraces him as an equal. So it's not about the leader anymore. It's about them, plural. Notice how he's calling to his friends to join in. So it takes guts to be a first follower. You stand out, you brave ridicule yourself. Being a first follower is an underappreciated form of leadership. The first follower transforms a lone nut into a leader. If the leader is the flint, the first follower is the spark that really makes the fire. Now here's the second follower. This is a turning point. It's proof the first has done well. Now it's not a lone nut and it's not two nuts. 3 is a crowd and a crowd is news. A movement must be public. Make sure outsiders see more than just the leader. Everyone needs to see the followers because new followers emulate the followers, not the leader. Now here come 2 more people, then 3 more immediately. Now we've got momentum. This is the tipping point, and now we have a movement. As more people jump in, it's no longer risky. If they were on the fence before, there's no reason not to join in now. They won't stand out, they won't be ridiculed, and they will be part of the in crowd if they hurry. And over the next minute, you'll see the rest who prefer to stay part of the crowd, because eventually they'd be ridiculed for not joining. And ladies and gentlemen, that is how a movement is made. So let's recap what we've learned. If you are a version of the shirtless dancing guy, all alone, remember the importance of nurturing your first few followers as equals, making everything clearly about the movement, not you. Be public, be easy to follow. But the biggest lesson here, did you catch it? Leadership is over-glorified. Yes, it started with the shirtless guy, and he'll get all the credit, but you saw what really happened. It was the first follower that transformed a lone nut into a leader. There's no movement without the first follower. See, we're told that we all need to be leaders, but that would be really ineffective. The best way to make a movement, if you really care, is to courageously follow and show others how to follow. When you find a lone nut doing something great, have the guts to be the first person to stand up and join in.
Yeah, it's only a short video, and I don't suggest as a leader you need to be stoned or drunk or both. But I think it's a very good demonstration of you know, the leader demonstrating. I mean, clearly he's got some weaknesses, you know, and he's brave enough to stand up there and all the rest of it. But also the importance of followership. So I like that video for that reason. What do you think of it? Do you think it demonstrates followership well, or have you got?
I couldn't actually see the video. I'm going to try and watch it later. I had the sound, but there was no video, so
Oh right,
I'll have
okay.
to.
Were you able to see it, Caroline?
No.
Oh, we should have
I
said.
could hear it.
Oh, well, watch it. I'll send you the link.
Okay, thank you.
That's a shame. Sorry, I wish I'd known. I would have stopped it and just sent you the link. Okay, I'll make sure you got the link for that one.
Okay.
And then finally, we'll go back to Wigglesworth. Now, I think these four things. I mean, a Wigglesworth paper is one of my favourite papers, for the very reason that she introduces spiritual intelligence, which for me, I think is an extension of the weaknesses bit, in a strange kind of way. In that, you know, if you're brave enough to espouse that you're going to show some spiritual intelligence, or you know, your followers see that you're moving into that kind of territory. You know, it could be seen as a weakness, I guess, but you know, I think the deep intelligence side of stuff is quite important there. What are your thoughts on Wigglesworth paper? Any thoughts?
I really liked this paper.
Yeah.
I found it quite deep. I really had to concentrate.
Yeah.
You know, lots of reading, but I thought it was really clever.
Yes.
And I had to read it a couple of times because, you know, they all mean different things. But yeah, it's very clever, I think, the way it comes together.
Yeah.
You know, all about the deep intelligence concept of, you know, the feelings that you have, the relationships, in the four different blocks. You know, and it really makes you think about, I think, how you would manage and what you do, you know, what are your strongest points and your weakest points.
Yeah.
Which I kind of did a little self-test and identified, so that was really useful. You know, so yeah, that's my thoughts.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
I think, sorry.
No, carry on.
No, I was going to say, you know, to take people with you is the difficult bit, isn't it? I mean, most of us, you know, as leaders or managers, have got over the IQ and the physical intelligence side of things. You know, you wouldn't have got the job without the IQ, and you wouldn't stay in the job without the physical side of things. We've learned, if we didn't already have it, the relationship building skills, the EQ. And I think that what I liked about Wigglesworth is that missing link for me on how to bring people with you, which is the spiritual intelligence. I'm not sure I've developed it enough yet to be able to deploy it, but I really like the concept of it. It's that bit extra you need over building the relationships to taking people with you that I liked. But yeah, again, your thoughts, Nick, on that? I mean,
I really liked it as well, and like, I had to read it, a couple of times. It's not something I've really, ever sort of experienced, or read about. So it was quite an insight to me, to be honest.
I mean, I say this as a factual comment and not as a sexist comment, but I found over the last few courses of this that I've run that women find it much more, much easier to align themselves with those thoughts than men on a sort of 80-20 basis, I guess. I think men are probably more inclined to go along with the sort of charismatic leadership of the 70s and 80s than perhaps women are. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
You say that, I'm obviously, I'm sort of 44 years old, so I've been around, a while, and, different jobs, different people I've worked for, and I just sort of think back to when I started work in the sort of 90s, and, to come with this sort of approach to people I work with, you'd sort of be, in a way, maybe laughed out of the office, but obviously times change and people progress, and it's I really like it. I think it's
I mean, I really hope that the spiritual intelligence side of things is brought to the fore a lot more. I think we do need it. Certainly in some of the organisations I've worked. Caroline, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, I don't want to get into a man-woman thing, but do you think that's? I mean, do you think I have made notes on it when I've done these seminars, and a lot of women have said, I get that, and that's the way I work. Whereas a lot of men said, like Nick said, we may be laughed at the office if we start doing that kind of stuff. I don't know what...
I agree. I do agree, and I can see how that's easily shown. I can definitely identify with that. And I did the test at the end as well, and that was really spot on. So I can relate to all of that, what you're saying. Yeah, definitely. Like Nick, I'm roughly about the same age, but I've been working the same sort of length of time, so I've been in just a few different companies, not many roles, but I've had I've been working in London, and I'm here in Dorset now, so I've seen all sorts of cultures and leadership through my change in business. And I can see the concept through looking back where I've worked, referring to, Wigglesworth, and reflecting back of where I've worked in the past, thinking about my different managers and the way that they behaved. And actually, we won't get into gender, but I've had male and female managers, and, everyone's been different in, all sorts of ways. So it's a good comparison to have that experience.
I mean, just to sort of finish off, my thoughts on that are that, if leaders can start developing their spiritual intelligence, then I think the workplaces will be a much happier place to be honest, and probably much better led. I haven't got any more slides. Have you got any queries or comments or questions or anything you want to raise about weeks 2 and 3, or indeed about week 4?
Sorry, Nick.
No, carry on.
No, I was just going to say I've got some feedback from you, Jonathan, for I think it's week 2. I need to look at that. Do you work along the lines of wanting me to resubmit that so that you can see how I've improved on that feedback, or
if you want to? Yeah, if you want to. I mean, most people don't, to be honest. They either ignore my feedback or just take it on board. But you can if you want to, and I'll have a look. So that's
Yeah, I
absolutely
think
fine.
that's probably best for me because
Yeah.
I'm sort of new to the subject,
Yeah.
as in, you know, studying. So it would
Yeah.
be good for me to get all the help I can get, I think.
Okay, that's fine. I was just going to say, can you, I mean, if you could copy and paste or just type into the white space so that I can, you know, above the tutor feedback box.
Do you know, I can't remember how to do it. I did it back in September, but Jason Truscott, we kind of ended up just emailing, so I didn't use PebblePad. But
Okay.
if you could send me a screenshot of how to get onto that, or anybody can, that would be much appreciated. I know Nick and Ryan are probably more adept to using
Okay,
PebblePad.
I am not the person to ask because I've only ever seen it from the tutor's side of things. So
Yeah.
if you're having problems, I'll get Stacey or perhaps one of the others can show you that. The
Is
reason I don't
that
like to get into the email side of things is because your assets get lost that way. If we've got it on PebblePad, you've got everything in one place and you've got my feedback in one place. And you know, and when you come to write the assignment, it makes life a lot easier for you because you can just hopefully just take the sections out, edit it as you see fit, look at my feedback if required, and adapt the stuff to that. And it makes it much easier. Whereas if you've got email, easy to get lost, not easy to find the responses, you know, all that kind of stuff. So just from a point of view of, you know, keeping your assets in one place, if you can work out how to do it, or we'll work it out together, that would be great.
Yeah.
All right.
Caroline, I can. This is the learning journal that.
Yeah.
I can certainly send you some screenshots of what I've done if that helps.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, yes, please. I mean, I know I'm finding my way around PebblePad slowly, but I think for me it's just repeat of use. Do you know what I mean? I've uploaded some assets now. I've got quite a few assets on there, and I mean, obviously, because Jonathan's been able to give me feedback, but it's just where to. It's familiarization, really. So that'd be great, Nick. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll email you some information later.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks very much, Nick.
That's okay.
Okay, anything from you, Nick, that you want to add, or any questions or queries?
No, I guess will we be having this sort of webinar every sort of couple of weeks?
Yeah,
or?
I mean, the webinar really for me is, as I said right at the beginning, it's not to go through the material again, or I've done it a bit here. What I'd really like is to, if you could, I mean, I'll go through it really quickly because I think, well, if there's anything that you don't understand, hopefully the slides will spark that off and then we'll have a discussion. If I don't get anything from you, I just whip through it. Okay. So what I'll do, we'll do it in 2 weeks' time for weeks 4 and 5. And same kind of format. We'll try and do it in, well, it's going to be 45 minutes, but we can do it in half an hour. It sometimes is longer if, you know, we have a conversation around a point. But if you're happy with that, just to bring out what I see as the most important points, and for you to bring stuff to the table, then we'll do it that way. Is that okay?
Yeah, just one. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Just one final question. When do you think we should start sort of looking at the sort of final assignment and start working on that?
Well, you're doing it already.
Okay.
That's what I was trying to say when I said look at page 4 onwards of the module guide, because you'll see it lays out the weekly sessions with the tasks of the weekly sessions which you're submitting to me, and then as you just read down the pages a bit, I think it's the next page, you'll see that the suggested format miraculously fit exactly almost with what the tasks are that you're submitting for me on a weekly basis. Right. So if you submit to me on a weekly basis, I give you feedback on a weekly basis, and you try and keep the word count as, you know, close to about 600 as possible. You know, I don't know how many weeks there are, 10 weeks. So you've got 4,000 words over 10 weeks, so which is whatever it is. You know, so, you know, you've really started already doing it, because all you need to do is take what you've done on a weekly basis and put it together, edit it to give yourself the assignment, and Bob's your uncle. So, you know, on that basis, you've started already. But if you could get it together before the 16th of April for me to do the formative stuff, you know, you won't have any problems with the assignment then.
Okay, I understood.
Nick, I asked Jonathan the same question just a few weeks ago, and it was quite reassuring for me to know that, because there's nothing like panic, is there?
No. Please look at that. No. Please look at the module guide. page 4 onwards, where it sets out the weekly sessions. You'll recognise them as the weekly tasks, the learning journal tasks, and then you'll give yourself a great deal of comfort by reading a bit further and having a look at the assignment suggested headings. And
Okay.
I'm doing this as the time goes on. I mean, you can put the assignment together as you like, but I suggest you stick roughly to what they suggest the format should be. But so please have a look at the module guide.
Okay, will do.
And don't forget the referencing. That's so easy to lose marks with the referencing.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
Contact me.
Perfect. Thank you.
Always, whenever you want to contact me, WhatsApp, Tutor Forum, however you want, phone me if you've got any problems. And we'll speak again in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Nick. Thanks, Jonathan.
Okay. See you.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye then. Bye.